Hi guys, I'm Eric Voss, and Marvel has surprised us with the first teaser trailer of Thor Ragnarok. And for real, I am super hyped for this movie. It looks like Marvel is pivoting from Thor the Dark World to tell a more colorful cosmic adventure in the vein of Guardians of the Galaxy, and really what readers of the Thor comics always loved. And I think another big reason why this trailer is so fun is that it includes a ton of little winks and Easter eggs that remind us of other exciting superhero movie moments. So in this video, I'm gonna break down all of that, along with some theories and predictions. And I'm gonna go super in depth, frame by frame, leaving no Infinity Stone unturned. And yeah, I said stone, not gem from the comics, because gem doesn't really work with the expression. Anyway, shut up. Let's get started.
Now I know what you're thinking. How did this happen?
So the trailer opens with Thor chained up, lowered into this deep lava cavern, Temple of Doom style. And right away, the trailer does this kind of jokey pause on him with this meta narration.
Now I know what you're thinking. How did this happen?
And this is interesting because it's not very common to see a superhero narrate his own movie like this. In fact, this moment kind of reminds me of that scene in Deadpool where he also similarly explained to the audience how he ended up so horizontal.
I think we can all agree that shit just went sideways in the most colossal way.
But this isn't the first time this has happened in the MCU either. Remember, Iron Man 3 began with a similar voiceover from Tony Stark.
A famous man once said, "We create our own demons." I'm gonna start again.
And sure, I don't know if Thor's line here was recorded just for the trailer, or if this line comes later in the scene with like Hulk or Valkyrie or Loki, or if it's all part of a framing device the way it was in Iron Man 3 with Bruce Banner in that post-credit scene. Like maybe this time it'll be Thor bearing his soul, putting Bruce to sleep, or maybe it'll be Tony nodding off. We'll see. Either way, since this is the third Thor movie, I think this narration and a lot of other stuff in this trailer just wants to echo the third Iron Man movie. Also, where is this place? It's dark and fiery, and those glowing rocks look kind of like faces, like they could be the faces of the damned. So this is most likely Hell. In Norse mythology, Hell is the opposite of Valhalla in Asgard, and in the comics it's ruled over by Hela, the goddess of death, Kate Blanchett in this movie, who looks awesome in this trailer. So Hela is confined to her own world, ruling over the dead, but she wants to expand her rule over the dead in Valhalla as well. And in this shot, it looks like she's breaking free from her world. We can see her torn clothes as she walks through the rift in space. And let's move on to the second part of this shot.
Well, it's a long story.
Okay, so huge moment here. Hela freaking catches Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and she destroys it. So this surprise catch reminds me of that trailer moment in Captain America Civil War when the Winter Soldier catches Cap's shield. No one is supposed to be able to do that. So yeah, it's a big deal for Thor to lose his hammer. And I'm guessing that this happens early in the movie because we never really see Mjolnir on him in any other shots. And I think that this is another detail that connects Thor to the other Avengers. Remember, both the third Iron Man and the third Captain America movies both separated the heroes from their iconic weapons. Tony blew up all of his gear and chucked his arc reactor, and Cap left his scratched shield behind him at the end of Civil War. And sure, Tony just ended up making new armor, and I'm certain that we'll see Cap with the shield again. And I'm predicting that Thor will end this movie with some version of his hammer, maybe a new one modeled on the Ultimate Thor comics, like we saw in the Infinity War concept art. But I think these Avengers losing their toys is an important lesson to learn, like what Tony told Peter Parker in the recent Spider-Man Homecoming trailer.
But I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
Now, it's looking like this movie will also reveal the sixth final Infinity Stone. After the Time Stone was revealed in Doctor Strange, that just leaves the Soul Stone. And some people had a theory that the Soul Stone was inside Mjolnir, since it's kind of a magical instrument and only the Vision could lift it, maybe because he has the Mind Stone on his forehead. Now, I don't see an Infinity Stone anywhere in these shards. Maybe Hela grabbed it already, or maybe it's somewhere else, but more on that later. Also, this fight looks like it's happening in an urban location, maybe New York. And we know from set photos and the Doctor Strange post-credit scene that that Thor is going to be visiting Doctor Strange at his Sanctum Sanctorum in New York City, looking for his brother Loki and his father Odin. And if you look really closely at this wide shot, you can see Loki with Thor in this alley. This scene was actually depicted in the concept art. So I'm guessing that Thor found his brother in New York, but Hela caught up to them, or Loki might have arranged this to trap Thor. But I have other thoughts on that theory later on. And real quick, I just want to point out the look of this Marvel Studios title card. Notice how it flies out at us. That's similar to the titles in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailers. James Gunn, who directs those movies, actually tweeted that this trailer for Thor Ragnarok might be the best Marvel Studios trailer ever, even besting his own trailers. But honestly, considering that Thor seems to be using a similar vibrant visual style to the Guardians movies, Gunn's approval seems a bit more like excitement over his own positive influence on the MCU. All right, moving on.
Asgard is dead.
So in this section, we hear this awesome music. It's Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. And I honestly don't know how this song wasn't already used for a Thor movie. It's kind of the perfect rock anthem for a Norse god. The lyrics are all about Vikings dreaming of war and conquest, with lines like Hammer of the Gods and Valhalla I am coming. But the song also works in context for Hela, who rules over Hel and Niflheim, which is a realm of primordial ice and cold, or as Led Zeppelin puts it, and like the speaker in the song, Hela is kind of an immigrant invading this new land in order to conquer it. And let's talk about Hela here. She looks fierce with this insane antler headgear, almost identical to Jack Kirby's original design in the Marvel comics. And the composition of the shot with the angles of her antlers contrasting sharply with the background makes Hela look so sinister. And I just love the thought that they put into the photography of this movie. We also see Hela as she arrives in Asgard and proclaims it dead. So this is connected to the title of the movie, Ragnarok. In the earlier Thor comics, Ragnarok referred to the end of the universe in Norse mythology, the destruction of Valhalla and the death of all the gods. It's actually part of a cycle that repeats over and over, with Asgard being reborn afterward and lasting until the next Ragnarok occurs. Now, this isn't to be confused with the character Ragnarok. That was a cyborg clone of Thor from the Marvel Civil War comics run, and that's not really part of this movie. So this is the event Ragnarok. And while it was something that we did see in the comics, Thor actually found a way to end that cycle. Hela's assault here comes from a different part of the comics when she conspires with Loki to try to bring about Ragnarok, but she fails. Actually, interesting thing about that comic, Thor has to fight without his hammer, just like he does in this movie. And this version of Hela gets a lot closer to full Ragnarok, torching Asgard in this wall of fire. Now, I'm not sure if this close-up of Thor in the fire is from this battle exactly, or if it's back in New York, but this is pre-haircut, so I'm guessing it's early in the film before he's exiled to Sakaar, which we see in this shot as Thor flies out of a portal. So just to recap what I see as the timeline of these shots, Thor starts out in New York with Doctor Strange, and then he finds Loki, and then gets jumped by Hela, who chains him up and banishes him to Sakaar, leaving Asgard more open to attack. And if that's the case, it really only seems to cover the first part of the movie. So there's so much about the story that we still don't know, which is kind of great. All right, let's move on.
Hi there.
So here we see Thor on the planet Sakaar, which is this scrap-covered planet that loves gladiatorial combat. And yes, this is all from the Planet Hulk comics, which I'll talk about later, but this idea of Thor getting taken in as a warrior slave seems like it's borrowing from movies like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which, like Thor Ragnarok, was the third installment of its series, and it was about a warrior who ends up in this shitty place forced to fight as a gladiator. The character even goes from long hair to short hair. And this person kidnapping Thor is Valkyrie, and she's played by Tessa Thompson. Valkyrie is a major character from the Thor comics. She's also known as Brunhilde. She leads the Valkyrior, which is a group of female warriors who guides the souls of slain heroes back to Valhalla. But in this movie, Valkyrie has ended up on Sakaar, gathering fighters for this gladiator combat. And these other shots might explain why Valkyrie left her old job. You can see her here with her iconic blue cape from the comics, riding her winged course, Aragorn with the other Valkyrie, leading an assault on Hela in Hell. And this looks like it could be part of that same sequence as that shot of Hela that we saw before. And after Hela tosses her sword, there's this quick shot showing Valkyrie and her warriors falling to the ground. So I'm guessing that this was part of a flashback battle scene showing how this humiliating defeat led to her exile to Sakaar. Like now she's using her warrior-seeking skills to bring back these poor souls to fight to entertain the masses. And as Thor gets dragged in to get this involuntary haircut, you can see what looks like some other gladiators training. And this guy is a trident. Some people are saying that that could be a reference to Namor, who carries a trident of Neptune. Or, you know, it's just a warrior with a trident, because tridents are actually pretty great melee weapons. And before I move on, there's this shot of Valkyrie as she turns away from Thor, looking a little guilty. And she's carrying what looks like a 4-pack of tall boys or something. Maybe that's her bounty for bringing in Thor. But this look of guilt implies that she still cares about her fellow Asgardian. Maybe that means that she'll be instrumental in helping him and Hulk escape. Let's move on.
What have you brought today? Tell me.
A contender.
So this section introduces us to Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master. He's the ruler of Sakaar who arranges all these gladiator matches in his Colosseum. And check out these big furry things shimmying on either side of Thor. So what the hell are these? Now my first stupid thought was that these are just both the legs of a giant dancing wampa from Empire Strikes Back. Like Disney owns both the Marvel and Star Wars universes, so anything can happen. But really these are probably just some goofy looking dancers on the Grand Master's suite. And if you look closely at the background, there are these red and blue figures on each side, and this whole shot is symmetrical. And based on Thor's confused expression here, I'm wondering if he's under the influence of some drug that's causing him to trip balls. It would explain why he was so lethargic and passive as they dragged him in for that haircut. But really, these bright colors and goofy visuals are another element that makes Thor Ragnarok feel more true to the cosmic, adventurous spirit of the Thor comics, and part of that same colorful Marvel Phase 3 that the Guardians of the Galaxy movie belongs to. And I think that's intentional, because in the comics, the Grand Master is one of the ageless elders of the universe, along with the Collector, whom we saw in Guardians. And I think that the relationship between these two characters is how Thor Ragnarok will tie into the events of the upcoming Infinity Wars movies. We also see this shot of Heimdall fighting, trading in his helmet for some awesome dreads. Now, I mentioned this before in a video that I did on Doctor Strange, but one popular theory is that Heimdall possesses the 6th Infinity Stone, the Soul Stone. Now, people think that this is partly because his name begins with an H, and the locations of the other stones kind of spell out the name Thanos. Anyway, that's kind of a stretch, and I'm not totally buying it, but I do think that there definitely is something to Heimdall's ability to see souls wherever they are in the universe, and the orange glow in his eyes, which might be connected to the Soul Stone, which is supposed to have an orange color. And some people have pointed to this round-looking piece on his chest plate as possibly the Soul Stone. We'll see. We also get our first look at Karl Urban as Scourge, the Executioner. Now, there's an interesting missable detail about this shot of him that I'm gonna point out. But first, quickly, I want to say that we love going super in depth with all this Marvel stuff, and part of the reason that I'm able to do that is by keeping up with all the Marvel information using Audible. Now, Audible offers a wide selection of audiobooks, and you can get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial at audible.com/newrockstars. There's actually one audiobook that I just finished called Marvel Comics: The Untold Story by Sean Howe. It's about how Marvel Comics evolved to dominate so much of our culture, and it explains a lot of why these movies are the way they are. Now, Audible is great for when you're commuting or working out, or when you're getting a haircut and you're just too awkward to make small talk. Thor's with me. So you can turn your commute or your awkward social interactions into something more with a free trial at Audible. Just go to audible.com/newrockstars to start now. Okay, back to Scourge. So in the comics, Scourge is kind of an anti-villain. Like, he's kind of slow and he always loses in his fights against Thor. But Scourge is also known for wielding a double-bladed blood axe. climax. And here he's firing two M16s. This could be a reference to one of the coolest things about this character, but it may end up being kind of big spoilers, so if you're worried about that, skip to this time. So in Thor issue 362, Scourge is on a suicide mission led by Thor into Hell to rescue mortal souls held unjustly by Hela. And in order to escape, they have to cross this narrow bridge called Gjallarbrú, separating the two worlds. And it climaxes with this dramatic redemption scene of Scourge firing double M16s to hold the bridge, sacrificing his life while the others escape. And the words, "He stood alone at Gjallarbrú," end up being this powerful epitaph for the character. And I think this shot of Scourge with the machine guns looks at least like a reference to this iconic moment. Okay, let's move on to this next section.
It's main event time.
So here we get one shot that looks like it could be part of Thor's and Hulk's escape from Sakaar, and another look at Hela in battle at Asgard, now wearing the antler headgear, probably just seconds away from stabbing someone with it. Come on, you could have shown us that. But we also get this mysterious shot of Loki as he flips his daggers. Now, we still don't really know for sure what Loki's up to in this movie, but my best guess is that he was somehow instrumental in releasing Hela from Hell. Remember, at the end of the Dark World, Loki was impersonating Odin. I think that he might have been able to use that stolen authority to unleash her on Asgard and to bring about Ragnarok. Also, let's look at the shot a bit more closely. That looks like a bridge. Maybe Gjallarbrú, the bridge between worlds that I talked about before. And that mountainous passage behind him could lead to the rocky terrain of Hell that we saw in the other shots. Also, there's this mob of people trying to push through. These might be souls of people trapped in Hell trying to break free. Hopefully future trailers will give us a few more angles on this to make some sense of it. And these next shots bring us to the main event of this trailer, the Colosseum on Sakaar, with these green smoke effects, probably to celebrate the green crowd favorite. And Thor enters the arena looking very much to me like Maximus from Gladiator, with this shorter hair. And yeah, I kind of want to see him throw that joust pole into the audience and scream like, "Are you not entertained?" And I'm really digging Thor's helmet design here. It kind of addresses the issue that's bugged a lot of fans about the Thor movies, the fact that the movie Thor never really wears the helmet from the comics. And to be honest, that was never really an issue with me, like I never really cared for the wings on his helmet. But this helmet with the adjustable chin guards gives Thor's head that classic shape while remaining practical. It actually kind of reminds me of Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, how her goggles flipped up to look like the classic cat ears. I don't know, kind of cool. But let's move on to this final awesome clip.
You're incredible!
Yes! We know each other. He's a friend from work. Oh, come on.
Seriously, it's like Marvel read all of our minds and knew exactly what kind of movie we wanted this to be. Everything about this is just perfect. First, notice Thor's shield here. Red and white stripes, blue inner circle. It kind of seems like he picked that out because it reminded him of Cap's shield. Also, it's so great to hear the Grandmaster introduce the Hulk this way.
I give you your incredible.
And I'm really liking how Marvel is using these heroes' comic book descriptions in the trailers.
Can't you just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man?
And yeah, Hulk just looks fantastic here. The CGI is really well rendered, and notice his armor. Now, this is clearly taken from the Planet Hulk comic storyline. So a quick reminder, in the comics, Hulk goes on a rampage that destroys most of Las Vegas. So Nick Fury sends him on a space mission where he ends up on Sakaar fighting as this popular gladiator warrior. So neither Hulk nor Thor were present for the Marvel Civil War event, which is also one of the reasons why they were left out of the Civil War movie. But now it seems like the plan is to bring Thor into this Planet Hulk storyline, which I think is brilliant, because not only will we get to see an awesome rematch from the Avengers, we'll also probably get to see them work together as old work friends, probably breaking free.
Yes! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
And Thor's reaction here reminds me a lot of Drax's huge laugh in the Guardians trailer. It's basically what we are all feeling in this moment. And judging from the reaction of the crowd and the Grandmaster, an even match is less preferable to Hulk just smashing someone's brains in. Also, it's interesting that Loki is joining the Grandmaster here in these very Jack Kirby-inspired box seats. Again, it seems like Loki is playing a more nefarious role, as if he's come to see his brother suffer and maybe die. But judging from Loki's nervous glance to the Grandmaster, he's probably remembering the last time he ran into Hulk. And I think this side shot of the two friends charging at each other, which, by the way, I think Thor's gonna get the first hit with that uppercut. All of this is meant to evoke another shot that ended a recent Marvel trailer. So now we see what Hulk and Thor were doing while the rest of their friends were in a civil war. They were in the middle of their own. Okay, that's everything that I caught in this trailer, and let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think Loki's plan will be? Where do you think the Soul Stone is? And how will Doctor Strange play into this story? Like, I know the Sorcerer Supreme is in this movie too, and I'm just too overwhelmed. But if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe to New Rockstars. We cover all kinds of Marvel stuff, all super in depth like this, so take a look around. And if you really like this channel, you can contribute to us on Patreon. Big thanks to all of our current patrons. You guys are awesome, especially Kelly Dunn. You can hit me up on Twitter at EAVoss with any thoughts or theories you have about Thor Ragnarok, or follow New Rockstars on Twitter at New Rockstars for updates on our videos. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.